Lyra's world was ordinary. Coffee shop visits, dog walks in the park, days filled with the mundane. Then everything changed. It started subtly.
A glass of water shattering when I argued with my roommate. My laptop crashing mid-presentation, the screen a mess of broken pixels.
These strange occurrences left her confused, scared. It felt like her emotions were somehow bleeding into reality, warping the world around her.
I initially dismissed it all, blamed stress, lack of sleep, anything but the truth. But deep down, a part of me knew. Something was different. Something was happening to me. Something impossible.
But admitting it felt like stepping off a cliff. Fear became her constant companion, whispering doubts in her ear. Lira withdrew from friends, her anxiety growing. She couldn't risk hurting anyone. The fear of her uncontrolled abilities was crippling. Her once vibrant world now felt small, suffocating. She was trapped in a cage of her own making.
Then one day, a book fell off my shelf. It landed open to a page about telekinesis. The words jumped out at me, echoing my deepest fears and wildest hopes. Could this be real? Could I actually be telekinetic?
This question, once unthinkable, began to consume her. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The park held a new kind of energy today. Lira walked, her thoughts a chaotic storm. She stopped by a bench drawn by a strange pull. A man sat there reading a worn-out book. He had kind eyes and a calm aura that drew her in.
"Looking for answers?" he asked, his voice soft like the rustling leaves.
Lira was taken aback. How did he know?
He smiled, understanding in his eyes. He introduced himself as Elias.
Lira, hesitant at first, felt a strange sense of safety around him. She confided in him, her voice trembling as she spoke about the strange occurrences. Elias listened patiently. He then revealed his own secret. He too possessed the gift of telekinesis. His words were like a lifeline to Lira. She wasn't alone.
These abilities often manifest in moments of intense emotion. There is a hidden world, a world where people like us exist, train, and fight against those who would misuse their powers.
Elias's words were a lot to process. He spoke of a man named Vorin, a telekinetic who had succumbed to darkness. Vorin craved power and control, using his abilities for personal gain.
Vorin is a constant threat, a storm cloud looming over our world. You need to be careful, Lira.
Elias warned Lira about the dangers of Vorin and his followers. Lira was torn. Part of her wanted to run back to her ordinary life, pretend this was all a dream.
But I knew I couldn't ignore this.
Elias saw the struggle within her. He didn't pressure her. He gave her space to decide.
Take your time, Lira. This is your choice to make.
Days turned into sleepless nights. Lira couldn't escape the truth. She had a gift, a responsibility.
I thought of Vorin, of the people he could hurt. The thought of standing by while others suffered was unbearable.
Lira knew what she had to do. She would fight.
Lira returned to the park, a newfound determination in her eyes.
Elias was there, waiting.
He smiled, sensing her decision.
Their training began. It was intense, demanding. Elias taught her control focus, the art of harnessing her emotions to fuel her powers.
Lira struggled at first. Her powers were erratic, unpredictable.
Frustration brought back the fear, threatening to consume her. But Elias never gave up on her. He patiently guided her, pushing her beyond her limits.
Slowly, she began to master her abilities. The fear was replaced by a thrilling sense of control.
She could lift objects with her mind, create force fields, even sense the emotions of others. As Lira grew stronger, so did the threat of Vorin. News of his exploits reached them.
He was gathering followers, his influence spreading.
They trained harder, their bond deepening into a strong friendship. They sparred, pushing each other to their limits, preparing for the inevitable confrontation.
One evening, Elias received a message. Vorin was planning a major attack on the city. His goal was to disrupt a peace summit, throwing the world into chaos.
This was their chance to stop him, but it was a dangerous gamble. The stakes had never been higher. A palpable tension filled the air. Lira and Elias prepared themselves, their faces etched with determination.
They stood side by side, two warriors against a rising tide of darkness.
They shared a look, a silent vow to protect their world.
The weight of their responsibility was immense.
But they weren't fighting for power or glory. They were fighting for peace, for the safety of innocent lives.
They were fighting for a world where people like them wouldn't have to live in fear.
As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the city, Lira felt a surge of power within her.
It wasn't just her own strength, but the strength of their bond, their shared purpose. Fear had no place here. She was ready.
The battle was about to begin.